Hello everyone, how are you feeling today? It's Eros everyone here, and today I'm coming at you with my Diablos Time Thief deck profile. Now this is the engine that I decided to go with Diablos at the end because I want to do something more original, not like Artifact because I don't have Artifact or Dangers. Again, I don't have Dangers. Fang of Critias is just not that consistent and just also have its own problems in the main deck. And also, I tried to put, also Fang of Critias in here, but I felt like I don't have enough room. And then Dark Lords are also kind of not a really consistent build with Diablos. But I do think that Time Thief could be better, more in the future, depending on the support that we'll get. For the time being, they're actually really awesome, and I will show you guys what I'm talking about when we jump into this deck profile. Now, of course, I unfortunately will not be able to upload the felgrand video like I wanted to this week because I'm not feeling that well and didn't have the time to make it, so I'm kind of still coming back from a kind of illness. So let's get started with the deck. 2 copies of Diablos. I don't think I need to explain what this card does. It's pretty obvious when you want to run 2 because it's preventing bricks, it cannot be targeted and cannot be tributed, which is really awesome. And then when, what happened when you tribute a dark monster, directly summon himself from the hand or graveyard. Now the third effect, which is the effect for what you call to put the top or bottom of the deck, making your opponent put a card. It's really cool, but it's not always used because it's depending on the decks that you're playing against. So yeah. Then 3 copies of Lady of Lament, Lilith. Like Lilith a lot. It's very flexible card with the quick effect to tribute itself or other cards during even your opponent's turn if you want to dodge removal and stuff like that and still get a value out of it. So that's actually kind of good. Sorry. And then also you have the other things that's flexible about her is that when she's normal summon, she becomes 1,000 attack. Now it might sound weird, but it's actually really flexible with some of the traps that you can run in the deck because it's actually making your life a lot more easier. And then 3 copies of Warden because Warden is awesome. Warden is your card to just search your field spell and that's it. Pretty much that. You have the other effect of tributing himself or another monster to get the Diablos or draw a card, but he's not really used for that purpose. You mostly want him as a additional, a terraforming, and I prefer this terraforming because this terraforming also bring a body to the board. So that's really cool. And that's it for them. Now I'll move on to the Time Thief cards. First off, we run 3 copies of Regulator. I don't think I need to explain why Regulator is a 3. Regulator is awesome. It's also have the idea of tributing, so that's making Diablos even more better. And the target for it right now are 2 copies of Winder, I think that's how you pronounce it, and 2 copies of Bezelship. Now, I would not like to run 3 of these because 3 of those cards is actually a break in my deck. I just like to run 2 of because I want to see this, but I don't want to see those so much in my hand, but I still want to have them in case that I draw 1, so I want to have an additional name in the deck, and that's really cool. This one is actually also have some kind of attributing effect by tributing itself, targeting a card in your opponent's graveyard and putting it under your Time Thief monster as a material, as well as it can detach a material from your Time Thief, and while it's in the graveyard and spend special summon itself, banish it when it's leave the field. And this one is just really simple, detach a material from your Time from an Xyz monster. Actually, it's become both of these are detaching effect is from each Xyz monster. My apologies. So it's also in the graveyard, can detach from any Xyz monster. This can detach from any Xyz monster from the hand, and because of that, you can special summon himself if you do that, as well as giving you a search for a Time Thief card, except himself, which is really cool because you either search for another Regulator if your board will get cleared, or you search for your spell trap, which we'll get to it when we'll get to it. And that's for the Time Thief. Now for the supporting Fiend, so to speak, engine. 1 copy of Torgad from the Underworld, 1 copy of Fiendish Rhino, and 1 copy of Absolute King Backjack. Now a lot of people think maybe I should have run Skarm instead and not run this, but I love this engine of of these 3. Because you see this, you special summon this, use those two for something, and then you send this to the graveyard to arrange the top of your deck to get a trap if you don't really open up with something that will really help you, or just in general, just have traps that you can use during your opponent's turn immediately without your opponent, like, you know, Twin Twister everything and just you don't have anything to deal with them. So it's like a really, really cool way to just get the trap that you want and just put it on top of your deck and then activate it immediately during your opponent's turn, which is really, really cool. So that's pretty much it for them. And we'll move on to the spells right now. 3 copies of Lair of Darkness. Awesome card. I don't run Terraforming because Warden is kind of like serving as a Terraforming, giving you the ability to tribute your opponent monster, making all of your monsters dark. My apologies. Like I said, also giving once per turn to tribute your opponent monster, and then also give tokens, which is really cool. You don't really want to have more than multiple copies of this in your hand, but sometimes it happens, but it's not the end of the world, because sometimes you can just activate one tribute, one monster your opponent controls, and then activate the second one and tribute again, because the tributing effect is not a hard once per turn. It's just a soft once per turn for 1 copy of the card. And then 3 copies of Allure Darkness. All of your monsters are dark. You want to see some of your combo pieces really, really quickly. Allure Darkness help you with that. 1 Time Thief Hack. Really cool card. Not really using it for its effect. Mostly using it for the trap effect, which we'll get to that. But still a really cool card and have some utility. 1 Foolish Burial because Foolish Burial. 1 Dragon Shrine for Diablos. 1 Monster Gate to tribute a monster to then trigger a Diablos, or getting another monster on the field that you want more, and try your luck with that. And then 1 Monster Reborn, because Monster Reborn is just a cool revival. If you, like, for example, like, again, you use Monster Gate or something and you didn't get the option that you want, you still have the ability to revive something back. And just in general, Monster Reborn is a good card. And that's it for the spells. Now I'll move on to the traps. So first off, a trap that a lot of people are going to like maybe raise an eyebrow, but I think it's absolutely insane trap, especially in Diablos, for the fact that you can tribute your opponent monsters, and that is 3 copies of Ballista Squad. I love this card to bit in this deck, and I think this is a card that made specifically for Diablos. Being able to tribute your opponent monsters with the field spell and then pop a card is insane. As well, just in general, tributing a monster and then targeting a card and destroy it is actually not that bad again, because you can trigger out your Diablos effect. This card is really good, and I think it's just being not being used that much in Diablos builds. I think it's really powerful and really, really annoying to deal with. And then 2 copies of Epidemic. I know this card is at 3, but I don't really have a 2,500 or more monsters most of the time on the field, except from Diablos, so I just want to focus on 2, and you can still see it with Lilith, so it's not the end of the world. And speaking of Lilith, I run 2 copies of Crush Card Virus, which can be any card virus that you prefer. I just like Crush Card Virus for the fact that, like, I have a lot of monsters that have like 1,000 or less attack, which is really, really cool. So yeah, you can just use this card quite a bit, and that's really, really cool, because Lilith, when it's summoned, boom, you get Crush Card Virus. It can, like I said, it can be like an epidemic, or not epidemic, the other virus, I forgot the name, the one that like destroy 1,500 or less attack for your opponent hand. I don't remember the name of it, but still a really good card, I think, in my opinion. Like I said, change it whenever you feel or want like it. And that's it for the Diablos related traps. Now I'll move on to the last two offs. First off, Time Thief Flyback. This card is insane. You can activate this during your opponent's turn to pull up the other copy and put it under your Time Thief monster, or pull up the spell. Really, really cool, and you can just also banish it from the graveyard to target a card in your opponent's graveyard and put it under a Time Thief monster. And you can only use each effect once per turn, unfortunately, and only one of the effect per turn, and only once that turn, unfortunately. But the idea is that you can just pull up a trap with this to put up the other trap under your monster to then just make him use his best effect is really cool. And then even if you pull up a trap from your opponent deck, you can just pull up a spell from your deck to get the additional draw, which is, again, pretty cool. And that's that for that. And then 2 copies of Back to the Front, because Back to the Front is your revival trap, and you want to have that trap sometimes. And that's pretty much does it for the main deck. Now I'll move on to the extra deck. So first off, 2 copies of Redoer. I think I already explained his effect of like, spell and trap, which is draw a card, and then trap is like a pretty much bounce a card with not targeting and not destroying, which is insane, by the way. Any card your opponent control, which is insane. That's why I like the trap effect a lot, and that's why I like to use the trap for the trap. To put him under him if I don't see a trap and just have kind of an interruption. Monster effect, you banish this until the end phase to kind of giving it protection. Now, the banishing effect and all of, the detaching effect for 3 different materials is a quick effect, which is really cool. You can only use the effect per turn, once per turn, so, if you want to use all the 3 effects, you need to use them immediately, all the 3 of them. But if you only want to use one, just remember that you will not be able to use the others for the turn. So, that's one of his drawbacks, but I think that's kind of makes sense, because if it wasn't for this drawback, this card will be absolutely insane. Also, during the standby phase, you take a card from your opponent deck, which is pretty cool. And then 1 copy of Utopia, and Utopia the Lightning to deal with big monsters. 1 copy of Castell because sometimes I don't have the Redoer effect and I want to bounce something. 1 Excited Knight to blow up the entire field if my opponent have an advantage on me and don't really have protection. 1 copy of Abyss Dweller because graveyards are annoying and I want to deal with them. And then 1 copy of Break Sword, which could be Dante, and one of these could be Beatrice to give you the additional, sending a card to the graveyard when you want to and just to use it for your effects. I just don't have a Dante or Beatrice, but I'm, for the time being, a proxying Break Sword, which actually not that bad as you think it is. And that's it for the Xyz. Links. 1 Linkaribo for Absolute King Backjack if I need to. 1 copy of Bewitch because all of your monsters are dark. 1 Cerberus, 1 Phoenix, 1 Unicorn because it makes sense. And this is a really cool package. 1 copy of Decode Talker because Decode Talker is absolutely insane in this deck for the fact that, when your opponent target cards, you can tribute for protection, which then triggering up Diablos effect and giving you tokens and all that stuff. So, yeah, that's really cool. And then 1 copy of Borreload Dragon to deal with pesky monsters that you want to get over and your opponent just don't really have any ways except from attacking them. And that pretty much does it for the deck profile, so hope you guys enjoyed. Again, if you have any suggestion to make this deck better, let me know in the comments down below. I think it's a really cool deck idea. I think the deck could become a lot better in the future, but for the time being, it's what it is. We'll see what we'll get from Dark Neostorm. So until next time, guys, remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, guys, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next week when I'll feel better for the Felgrand deck profile, which is the final one from Choose Your Deck Profile, and then I have a lot of cool decks that I want to show you guys that coming right up. So, see you guys next time, bye-bye.